And hello, everybody, and welcome to the entertainment headquarters. And of course, welcome to it's been a long time coming. I haven't done one of these for a while. An Into the Darkness segment, my segment on the channel dedicated to all things horror within the entertainment industry. And with me is a good friend who I don't know why I think he's murdered DJ Anubis because he's had is there a full moon over there in Baltimore? Because all of a sudden we'll have a werewolf on the channel for the night. DJ Anubis in werewolf form.
Wow. Anubis is no longer here. I am the dog soldier. Just
Well,
kidding. I'm glad to be here. On the entertainment headquarters. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, and if I need backup, I know who the fuck I'm gonna call. It's the werewolf master DJ Anubis from the Metal Tavern Radio. Great heavy metal get me freaking teeth in. Great heavy metal music content there, and of course he does a lot within the world of entertainment as well with his own music and film and television review. So check him out, please, because he does some cool shit. And there's another reason why I wanted him on this channel today is because you are a huge fan of arachnids. You have quite a collection. That's another thing I need everyone to check out. If you are a fan of arachnid spiders, then check out his channel. He's just dropped a really cool behind the scenes video of his spider collection, and he's got quite a vast amount of spiders, and they're all interesting, different sizes, different breeds. I think you know them better than me. You've got some old world species and new world species. Can you, for me in the audience, tell me what the difference is with old world and new world? Because I personally am not sure myself.
The biggest differences between New World and Old World is one, New World's tarantulas generally kick hairs. And so normally you wouldn't think that'd be that big of a deal, but trust me when I say this, you don't want a tarantula to kick hairs on you because if it does, it makes you very itchy and it doesn't go away for like a month. I had that happen with my Brazilian black. I thought I was covered and everything. She managed to get me on my stomach. So for like freaking a month, I was scratching here and then it spread. So it's worse.
Oh God.
Also, you do not want to, if you're ever keeping spiders, trust me, have glasses or goggles on because if you get them in your eyes, it's going to be bad. It's a bad thing. So that's a defensive mechanism for New World. Old World don't do that, but their venom is far more significant if you get bit, and you have to be very careful. So, like, I've been into the hobby now for 3 years. I did have a tarantula way back when I first met my wife. That was just a basic New World Chilean rose, which is a pretty docile spider, but um, I have about 4 or 5 species now in the old world, so I had to be very careful how I handle. In fact, last night I had to move my OBT, which is a very defensive spider in terms of like whenever you just walk by, it rears up because it's pissed off you're even in its vicinity. But I had to move her over to a little bit bigger enclosure because her water dish wasn't staying full and like she webs a lot, so it's just a pain in the ass. So it came out all right. There was no problem, so it was easy going. But they usually tell you that before you go into old world in terms of the hobby, just to be more experienced with it and how comfortable you're with it. So the weird thing about it all is one of the topics that Mr. Lambert has is the phobias. I do have arachnophobia, but this is what's great about this hobby is that it's helped me learn how to kind of deal with it and get over it. So I don't really handle the spiders. There's no need to. Even the best like spider keepers like Dave's Little Beasties. If you never checked out his channel, he has a lot of great information for those that want to get into the hobby. But he doesn't even handle his. Like, he doesn't mean he hasn't had these weird episodes where a spider runs up his arm, but he stays calm. Like, um, but he says like there's really no purpose to it because spiders don't have emotions. They're not going to be attached to you in any certain way. Now, I don't begrudge anyone who wants to handle them because as long as you're safe and you're providing yourself a safe space as well as not dropping the spider, because they would shatter like from a far distance. So you don't want that to happen. So um, yeah, it's a matter of being careful. And even with the new worlds, like they can still bite. Now, there's never been like
Mm.
fatality from a bite of a tarantula ever. But some of the stronger venoms, spider species, can make you sick. So you have to be careful. And then
Yeah.
if you're allergic, that could affect you too. So Missy's always like, "Hey, I want to handle one." I'm like, yeah, but if you're bit and you're allergic, then I have to go take you to the hospital. I don't want to do that. So
Yeah, very true. And
yep,
there's no way you can obviously test if you're allergic to like
right,
the tarantula bites, is there? Unless they bite you, and then
right, yeah.
precisely
Yeah, I mean,
so.
I figure that, for some people who are like allergic to bee stings, I wouldn't suggest handling spiders because your chances are you're allergic to insect bites in some way.
Yeah.
So yeah.
See, full of great information there, and that is why I wanted you on this particular uh, segment because, as you know, a few days ago we were treated to a brand new trailer for a film that I have been looking forward to. I heard about it probably maybe a year ago, and then it just went dead. There wasn't any information. So this segment is dedicated to checking out the trailer, but it's also about talking about phobias. I personally have a phobia. I'm claustrophobic, so I always tense up and when I'm in an elevator. I always get anxiety when I'm in an elevator. Even though you could be in one for a minute, I
Hmm.
always get that dread feeling in the pit of my stomach because you always have this in your imagination that the elevator's gonna just go stop on the spot and the lights are gonna go out. So that's my
The funny thing
personal
is, for me, when I get in elevators, I feel like I'm John McClane. It's like time to go die hard. Just stop the elevator, get out.
and not me. Like even when we were at G Fest, when we were there in Chicago in
A lot of
last
elevators.
July, there was a lot of elevators. But the great thing is, what distracted me from having them feelings is the
My good look.
majority of time, not just your good looks, but when I was going in the elevator, I was in company and we were having conversations, and it distracts you. It
Yeah.
distracts you from in your mind from having those feelings.
Hmm.
So that's my personal phobia. But let's check out the
Well,
trailer for
before you get
Sting.
into that, did you ever check out the other one you sent me, the Vermine or Vermine?
Yes, yeah, that for me is like basically it's a French movie and it's basically the French arachnophobia where there's these spiders in a French apartment building that seem to just multiply and go out of control. But I'm not sure. You might know better than me because I've only seen that trailer once. Did the spiders grow in that trailer? Like, did they look like there
I
were
think there
different
was
types?
some alluding to down like as the trailer went on. I think they do grow, but I don't know how big. But do you have like spider films from the past that you like in any at all?
I liked I love the original
Arachnophobia.
arachnophobia. I absolutely love that. And I cannot really remember, if I'm truly honest, any other like spider films that stood out to me. Is
Hmm.
there any in your mind outside of arachnophobia from the
Oh
past
yeah,
that?
yeah. I was kind of jotting down notes. I recently saw Itsy Bitsy from like a couple years ago where they used practical effects for the spider, which was really cool. It's not like the most amazing movie, but I could appreciate what they were going for with that.
Mm,
There was a couple of TV movies, Curse of the Black Widow and Tarantulas: The Deadly Cargo. Both of those came out like the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, I remember, like, obviously the only spider movies outside of Arachnophobia, which for me is the one that really signified the fear of spiders. I think anybody that hasn't seen it, that does see it, they'll see why it's popular, because it really does. There is elements to it though that I think are a bit unrealistic. Like, I don't know, you might know, can spiders crossbreed? Like, I know, like, that's meant to be a deadly African spider. That's like an undiscovered species with the most powerful venom, and it breeds with a North American house spider, and they kind
To
of
my
come out.
knowledge, no, I don't think they can.
Yeah, so
But I wouldn't say that with 100% guarantee, but I'm pretty sure they can't. But yeah,
yeah,
the
that's
other film that came to mind for me was in '77, the William Shatner film Kingdom of the Spiders is a very good one too.
That's the other one that I do remember. I think at the end of that one, he's literally standing looks out the window, and the entire village is just covered in giant cobwebs
Yep.
and webbing, and that's the only other, I think, outside of Arachnophobia. I was going to mention that Kingdom of the spiders. That's the only other one I can remember from my childhood. And obviously the only other spider movies I know are like the giant monster ones, like, is it Tarantula, the giant tarantula,
Yeah.
stuff like that. But outside of that, I've always known that of Arachnophobia as being the go-to for a majority of people,
And
and
they're
it kind
remaking
of.
it.
And yeah, they're going to do a remake, but I can't imagine. Well, you don't know. You always have in the back of your head it's never going to be as good as the original. And there's a
Right.
handful of films that do succeed. But if it doesn't have John Goodman in as
Right.
the exterminator, then I don't know. But before we get on to talk a bit more about phobias, let's talk about this particular film, Sting. So, Sting, the premise of the story is this. Sting is inspired by one of humanity's greatest fears, arachnophobia, made more monstrous than ever before. And let's have a look. The cast stars Elia Brownie as Charlotte, Penelope Mitchell is Heather, and a host of other actors. And it's directed and written by Kia Roach Turner. So I've never heard of that director before. Have you heard of him before?
Mm-mm.
He has directed the Winewood Apocalypse, the Winewood Chronicles. It must be a series of films called The
I think I did
Winewood.
see that recently. It's more. I think that's like the zombie stuff. I think
Yeah,
wasn't too bad.
yeah, there's three of them. So he's known for doing zombie films, and I think he's an Australian director, I believe.
Yeah.
So that's the only things I know of him. But for anybody that is frightened of spiders, this is a film that you're either gonna probably keep away from, or out of curiosity go and see it in theatres. I personally would go, but I'd have to go with somebody to hold me hand. I'm only joking. I would just rock up to this shit because I love a good horror, and I haven't seen a good spider film in a long time. They don't seem to be like, like how there's like there's the trend of shark films. You can have a billion shark films. I thought with arachnophobia being such a huge fear that there would be more spider movies out there, but there isn't.
I mean, well,
After
they
one,
always kind of made some, but it was always like, I know Sci-Fi did a lot of them, like the late '90s, early 2000s. Then you had like in 2000, which is actually pretty decent. It was Eight-Legged Freaks.
yeah,
That was a
Eight-Legged
pretty
Freaks,
decent one.
but that was more like an action comedy than an actual
Right,
horror.
right, correct.
I
Yeah,
know
a lot of the
sci.
stuff now is like more of bad CGI stuff. So
Yeah, like the thing with the Sci-Fi Channel, as you know, after like they did Sharknado and they had that huge boom of success, and they just seemed to hammer out all these different shark films. They did bring out a couple of spider movies. Like, I remember there was one called lava phobia or something,
Yeah.
which was like arachnophobia, but the spiders were coming out of a volcano and breathe
Right.
fire. And I'm sure there actually is a film they did that was quite decent about the giant spider in New York City. The CGI wasn't great, but I remember that being quite an interesting spider film. But for those that don't like spiders, I would look away now. But those who are interested and intrigued, I do highly recommend you stick around and watch this trailer. So here we go. After I count of 4, I'm going to play the trailer. So 1, 2, 3, 4.
Charlotte!
Hey there, little guy. We're gonna call you Sting. Cool.
Okay.
Hey, Mom.
Excitement's growing in the house tonight. Whatever your mood, you're gonna lose your blues tonight.
What the hell happened to it?
Rats. Nasty?
Could a spider grow in a couple of hours?
The stars in the sky. Shining on the house tonight.
There is noise.
Come on, Sting.
You got a problem with doors?
Now we have to deal with this together.
Damn.
Yeah, that actually is more scary than the other trailer I seen. Because the trailer there was another trailer, so I don't know if this is the second trailer. The
Right.
first trailer made it out more. I was basically showing you the relationship between the girl
Right.
and the spider, who she named Sting. Who, the thing is, there's not much known about the plot other than she finds the spider, she befriends it, she decides to feed it, and it then goes out of control and it starts hunting. First starts hunting pets within the apartment complex.
Right.
And then it suddenly moves on to eating people, and then it continues to grow. And as you can see, that's a lot. That trailer there for me was a lot more darker than the first trailer.
It looks like they're using practical effects, so that looks cool too.
So what's your initial reaction to this trailer?
I'm interested in it. It's pretty interesting. They're going with this, at least on the surface, this theme that, she befriends a spider, and it's actually kind of smart. It can undo the top of the jar and get out, and so it's got some wits about it. So I wonder if it's, had some sort of testing done on it or something. I don't know, but again, maybe we'll figure that out once the movie comes out. But yeah, it's got your atypical, spider's hungry, he's got to eat and gets bigger and needs bigger things, so it's going to keep going after people and creatures. So I did like the old woman, like, he's like, what is that? And it's like the parrot's like, he's like, rats. So yeah. It looks good. I think I'm interested in it.
Me too. I really liked it, and I'm quite interested to see, like, you've got it looks like the exterminator, and he looks like he's, one minute you see him normal, next minute it looks like he's being ripped apart, but he still must have survived the first attack, because you had a glimpse of him there at the back end of that trailer where he's got all the marks on his face. So he obviously must survive. So it looks to me like they're taking, you know, references from the character John Goodman played, the Exterminator. I don't know why, but every time there's a spider film or there's like a monster film and they've introduced like some sort of exterminator expert, it's always some sort of comedy role, or it's always some sort of like, you know, guy who's going to bring the humour in it. They never come across serious. And this, for me, looks like it's going to be a mixture of comedy, action and horror, which is great. So I don't know about you, but it's obviously set during a winter storm. It's giving me like Krampus vibes as well from, you know, how
it's got that Christmas sound, so I wonder if it's going to get released around Christmas.
I believe it's
like a year away, so
yeah, I believe it's coming out in May. So
May,
I don't know if it had been filmed around that period and that was the initial idea, but now they've brought the release forward to the summertime. But yeah, Sting looks really interesting. The cast looks strong in this. They look like they're all going to deliver, whether it's, you know, expressions of fear or comedy or like that. And the girl actress doesn't look like she's going to annoy us.
Yeah.
Because, as you know, with a lot of these type films with a young cast member, the actress always ends up being annoying. But she looks like she's going to be strong in this. So that is Sting with spiders. So going back to Phobia, what other phobias do you know about that, or things that intrigue you?
Well, you know, obviously I also have interest in sharks, but I do have a phobia of the water. Like, that's just something, I don't go in the ocean anymore. You know, it's like the chances of being bitten are very slim, but I've known enough and seen enough to say, well, one time's enough for me, so I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, going back to what I was saying about arachnophobia way back when that came out in the 90s, that really amplified fear within spiders. And as you know, going way before that, you had Jaws, which started the fear of sharks and really
Yeah, I don't
emphasized
think people
that.
realize just how much Jaws had an effect on people. Like, beaches were literally cleared. That movie like sent such a shockwave that eventually had to come out and say, "Look, it's just fiction, man. Like, sharks really aren't going to eat you, you know, as a priority food source." But it was hard. Like, and then like, you know, even it's funny because when Jaws 2 came out, they were using the tagline, you know, just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water. So that probably just fucked with everybody again. Yeah, it's crazy how that movie really affected the psyche of people.
Yeah, and obviously, if you look at shark attacks, yes, they do happen, but I don't think they happen as often as what people assume they do. I think when they do happen, it's under very, very strange circumstances, or circumstances that you would not expect. Like, I watched a video on YouTube of a man he jumps off like a pier and he's swimming around and someone was videoing and he literally jumped and there was he jumped as there was a shark swimming beneath the pier. And he suddenly started going crazy to get back to the steps.
Yeah,
and
I saw that.
And the shark was coming near him, but I don't think it would have got to him in time. But even, you know, it's little, that's the kind of circumstances you're talking about when you're going to get attacked by a shark.
Yeah.
And I know you did a video a few months back where you and Missy did a reaction to an actual real bad shark attack, which was quite graphic.
Yeah, I have a couple of them out there. I have one from about a year or so ago with Simon Nealis, who was in Australia, and they caught some footage of the aftermath of when he was attacked, and that was pretty distressing. And then the one you're referring to is the Russian guy who was attacked while a tourist in Egypt, and tiger shark took him. You know, and again, people were filming it, which, for when I talk about the things, I always try to stress that I'm not doing it for disrespect to the families of the people that are lost.
Yeah.
But I always try to use it as like an educational thing, because I do, while I'm not like an expert in terms of like scientific or research or anything, I do study them enough on my own, and watch as much stuff as I can on sharks to understand their habits and when it's not a good time to go out there. Like, even though they may not want humans as a food source, it's like they have to sit there and weigh, like, okay, am I going to spend energy chasing this sea lion over here, or am I going to take whatever this is that's like slowly plogging through the water, like, which is my easiest way to get fed?
Yeah.
So you may not always be consumed by a shark. That's, usually humans will fight back a lot more than like a seal or something else that is pretty much dead by the time it's hit. But the reality is that we always have to keep our awareness out there in terms of sharks. Like, you just have to be aware.
Definitely. And if you look at the majority of shark attacks, a lot of people, obviously due to the impact of Jaws, like we'll go back to that, is the majority assume that the majority of these attacks are done by great whites, which isn't the case. Correct. I believe there's a lot of other sharks that are more aggressive than a great white that have showcased that. You've just mentioned tiger sharks. Hammerhead sharks are known to be quite aggressive. Bull sharks apparently is one of the most deadliest of all the sharks. I think because of the size of the great white, that's why it gets a rap, and because of obviously the impact of the movie Jaws. But obviously, I've always feared more out of a tiger shark than probably a great white. But that's another great phobia, fear of sharks. Obviously, water. I'm frightened. I get claustrophobic. My friend has a weird phobia, and that is she can't stand, if you go near a wall, and it's that fear of all the tiny holes. I don't know if you've seen that. Tiny little holes, like, and she gets goosebumps and everything. They even did an episode in American Horror Story, which was all about, you seen one of the characters in the psychiatrist office, and she has so many different fears. And one of them, you just seen like this statue, and it had all these little holes, but the way the statue looked, it looked like flesh, with looked like your palm of your hand with loads of holes in. Right. And it, obviously they were all red and bloody, so it was quite, disturbing to look at that. And in her mind, my friend's mind, she has this fear of all these little holes and these little things coming out of the holes to get her. So that's why she has this fear. And I don't know if it's something that's happened when she was younger, like say she's fell over and she's seen, like, I don't know, holes in the ground and maggots or something came out of the ground. But it's something like that knocked her as a child, and anytime she goes past anything and there's just tiny little holes, she gets this awkward feeling inside of herself. Right. So it's a fear of, like, and there is an actual phobia and a name for it. So that's another phobia she has.
Yeah, it's funny because, like, I have, like, sometimes have phobia of heights, but it depends on what it is. So I was actually looking at a guy that's a streamer online for OTK, which is a gaming community, and he was visiting Paris and London and stuff, and I guess London has this big ass Ferris wheel.
The London Eye, yeah.
Right, and I think that's cool as shit. Like, I wouldn't be scared to be in that, but if you put me standing on, like, there's some other, like, tall buildings where you can stand on the edge, or it's like all glass, like, that would make me nervous. On, like, glass beneath you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I've just looked up here for that particular fear for holes. It's called trypophobia. It's a specific type of phobia characterized by a fear of holes. People with trypophobia may express feelings of disgust or fear, as well as other non-specific symptoms when encountering stimuli containing irregular patterns of clustered holes. So it's like, and I can understand why she would get it. So I don't know if it'll show on, but here is an image of the hand.
Okay, yeah.
Someone's hand with all the tiny holes.
That's crazy.
So that is an actual person's hand. I don't know what caused that, but it's little things like that and like the tiny little holes.
Oh, like acorns and stuff. Yeah.
It's anything like that, and it sets her off. She just gets this horrendous feeling in the pit of her stomach.
Maybe she was, because I was thinking like that acorn kind of looks like a wasp nest. Maybe she was stung.
Yeah, something like that. But fear of, like you say there, fear of spiders though is, you know, what we've been talking about, which you have proved you can overcome. Like, you have arachnophobia, but you are willing to, you know, go out there and collect these amazing spiders, and you have some amazing species of spider within your collection. So I'm looking forward to you doing more stuff with the spiders. Like, I've been watching your content. I seen when you and DJ Neko actually rescued a spider, which I believe has lost one of its legs.
No. The one we got, she found through, I think it was Craigslist or something, that somebody was trying to get rid of it. She wasn't even looking for spiders, but she saw the ad and the person said it was getting too big and she wasn't sure how to handle it. So, and it's a new world. It's a Mexican red leg. I call it Salem. Beautiful spider, but it's another one that, you know, you have to be careful. It does kick hairs, but really, if you're gentle with the spiders as you're moving them around, if you have to move them from enclosure to enclosure, you can avoid a lot of that, because it's only when they get like annoyed or irritated that they're going to do stuff like that. So
yeah. So, well, that is, you know, more interesting news, and I hope you're all going to do more with the spiders, because I really think it's something people could be educated on. Having more, you know, YouTube channels out there that, you know, especially if you've got a fear or a phobia, having channels out there that educate people on these kind of subjects.
I might try to do like maybe like a segment on each spider and just give like background info and stuff on them, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? I think that's a great idea. But I would like to know what people think of the trailer for Sting. I would like to know if you have any phobias and what you've done to maybe overcome them. As you know, this segment, Into the Darkness, is dedicated to all things horror. And this is kind of being a horror topic, talking about the film and obviously talking about phobias. You know, one of the big phobias that a lot of people have is dark. Is being in the dark, no light. And what a perfect subject to talk about is the dark. So,
into the darkness.
Into the darkness. Like, if you look at the majority of movies are not, and I'm not just talking about horror, but action, thrillers, they will always have a scene set at night. Obviously, if you look at the background of my setup here, we'll have werewolves as a perfect example, vampires, demons, ghouls, whatever. They all seem to like to pop up at night. And is there any situation you've ever been in during a dark setting that you actually can remember that you shit your pants at?
Yeah, and it was self-inflicted. So basically, the thing about Maryland is like we tend to get like during the summer months, at times we'll get like extreme fog in certain areas. So some people live in houses that are surrounded by a lot of trees and forest areas, and so my friend, growing up in the 90s. Like I used to hang with them a lot then before we moved on and got married and all the other stuff. But uh, out by his house where his mom lived, like it was a lot of trees and stuff. So I remember just waiting for him to get ready to go out for the evening. I was in my car in the dark, just sitting in the back, and like the fog was out there and the forest is there. And I was playing I think it was Dance Macabre from Celtic Frost, and it's just like an instrumental, but it's got all these scary, spooky sounds going. So I have this sound system going, and I'm playing this, and I'm like literally freaking myself out because it's just dark and there's fog, and it's like, what's going on? What's that? Is that a shadow? What is that? You know. So yeah, I mean, your mind can play on you a lot, and sometimes that's how people, say that. Like I remember one time, like I can't explain it, but I've heard people say it can happen. Is when I met Neko, she was just plagued by night terrors. Like that was something that was prevalent in her life. And one of the first nights that we stayed together, she had one, and I was like in a dead sleep, and she like clawed my back. Like I thought Freddy Krueger just stabbed me or something, but I woke up and like she was screaming, so I was trying to calm her down, but I was looking at the end of the bed and I could have swore I saw like a shadow figure sitting there. And like again, it could be just more of the mind playing tricks on you because I knew she had talked about shadow people and stuff like that. But other people have said that sometimes you can share something between somebody with, especially when you're coming out of REM sleep and all that. So I don't know. The whole like thing about the paranormal and ghost and shadow people and stuff like that is a very interesting subject. I don't have any like expertise in the field. I am interested in ghost stories and stuff. I've had some weird things happen with my friend when we were living together years ago, but I can't explain them. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can remember, and I've never forgot it. When I used to work in retail, and I used to start work quite early. And I remember this one particular time, I got up. It was pitch black outside. It was like in the autumn time, and where I live, I come out my front door, and you can go that way. If you go that way, you walk right round the houses and down, and then you head towards the local metro, and you get the train to work. Or if you want the quick route, you go the opposite way, and you go across a pitch black field, like a weather pitch, where they have, which is owned by the school, and they would have soccer practices and stuff on there. Well, as you can imagine, getting up very early, it's pitch black. And there's no light. There's just the shining from the houses if anyone's got the lights on, or in the distance where I'm headed to, there's like the lamp post at the end.
Yeah.
And on the other side, there's like a path, a dirt path, and there's a set of trees. So I decided I can't be bothered to walk around. I'm going to go across this weather pitch across the field. Right. And I always remember going, and I swear to God, I kept hearing footsteps behind me the entire way. And I even could feel like people running past us. It was like I was being followed and people were all around us. And I always remember once when I got to where the trees were, I looked up at the trees and I felt as if there was somebody staring down from us at the trees. And I felt like I could see a figure in the tree looking down, but it was windy as well, so it could have all been in my head. But I used to walk across the weather pitch and walk across that field all the time without a glitch. Ever since that incident, when I still worked in retail, I stopped going across the field because it was like something was telling us not to go over in the dark.
Right.
And I believe, like, I honestly feel like the footstep behind us, the footstep running around us and seeing this image in the tree is them warning me not to do it again. Because something I felt like could happen to us if I kept doing it. So it's just.
I don't think I ever asked you. Did you? Because like, if I ever go to London, I'd love to visit Whitechapel because I've always been interested in the Jack the Ripper lore. Have you ever been down there?
I haven't. Well, I've been to like the likes of Baker Street, things like that. But I don't think I've ever been to Whitechapel, which I'm not. I can't imagine. I'm not sure if it's far from Baker Street, where Sherlock Holmes was. But we went around that area and we went to like the West End, to the theatres and stuff like that. But I would love to do a ghost tour of London.
Yeah.
And if you ever make it to Newcastle, we've got the City Keep, which is like old, it's the last part of the old castle that was here in Newcastle. And in the winter time, they do inside the actual keep, which is freezing cold. It's solid stone. They put a projector and they showcase films over Halloween. Because I went to see Bram Stoker's Dracula there, and it was a fantastic experience. But yeah, they do ghost tours around the City Keep, and you can actually go underground and through the ruins of the place and stuff.
Oh yeah. Do you guys have like catacombs like Paris or France does? I think France has a lot of those.
Wouldn't say catacomb, but we've got a lot of like old like
Tunnels,
sewer areas and stuff like that, which is obviously not open to the public, and you have to go down with a guide, and you get to see like how things probably were set up back then, stuff like that. But also have the Beamish Museum, which is up in the northeast of England, which is it's up just past where I live, and it's like a huge museum that has old worldy trams. It has all the like buildings set up from the Victorian era. They have a 1950s town, which they're opening an old world cinema.
Mm-hmm.
So like from the 1950s. So we have things like that up here. But yes, being in the dark is another phobia, because like you say, it makes your mind run. So how do I know what you experienced with Neko was really happening, and how do I know somebody wasn't really following us that day on the field? So
and some people do believe in that. Some people believe that sometimes when shit like that happens, that's done for a reason. So maybe you're right. Maybe that was like, hey, don't come back here, man. Do it a different way.
Well, there's a lot of there's a lot of these anthology horror films like Tales from the Dark Side and stuff like that, and Creepshow, and you see people get told don't do this, don't do that, and they do it anyway, and then they suffer the consequences. So I'm somebody that listened. I don't know what was in my mind or if it really happened, but I listened and I stopped doing that because I thought it's just too freaky. But anyway, we've looked at Sting, the spider film. We've talked about phobias. It's been great having you back on the channel.
Thank you, sir.
I love it every time you're on the channel because we have some really good conversations. So, as you know, I've not done any Into the Darkness content for a while. I hope you've enjoyed this. I will be bringing some more real soon. I will be doing a Friday the 13th franchise discussion with another YouTuber of ours in our friend group called Anthony Jordan. In some time coming in the near future, I will be having this man, the legend, my good friend DJ Anubis, back on the channel, because we will be doing an Evil Dead franchise discussion, because I know how much he loves that franchise. I thoroughly enjoy that franchise. But for anybody that's watching, have you got anything coming up on the channel?
I got a lot of stuff coming up. Obviously, tomorrow I will be back here with Mr. Lambert and Mr. Fat Samurai Guy as we go and review First Blood, or our classic retro segment that we're doing on Entertainment Headquarters, of course. And then later, I think Nick and I are going to try to do a couple of trailer reactions to Wicked and The Fall Guy. So we'll see how that goes. Thursday, I'll be back on Samurai's channel. We're going to be doing a versus between The Beekeeper and Transporter, Jason Statham movies. And then Friday, be back here. on entertainment headquarters with Mr. Lambert, with Neko with me in tow, to talk about the Monarch Legacy of Monsters series, which we've all checked out recently. And then later that evening, I'm hoping her and I can do another Classic Reflections, reviewing the album King Diamond's Them record. So we'll try to do that. And then Saturday just kind of came up to an idea a couple of days ago that I've got Mr. Lambert, Sci-Fi Century, and Big Bad Wolf right now. We're going to do a little discussion reaction to a video from a person who is spitting some stuff about Godzilla that may be not accurate, and he's getting a lot of pushback about this video. So I thought it'd be fun for us who are big kaiju fans, and we are in the Godzilla lore in terms of big fandom. So hopefully get some more panel guests to come in, and we're going to talk about that and just go through it. So don't have a time yet. We're going to sort that out at some point, but it is for Saturday, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, definitely, because I'm very curious to see what this person has been saying about our good friend, the king of the monsters right there, Godzilla himself. But as for me, like you've already mentioned, we've got the Retro Classic movie show coming tomorrow with our friend Fat Samurai Guy. I do have a couple of reviews that I want to do before the end of the week. I'm going to try and get out there me Griselda Blanco review, which starred, Sophie V. I forget her second name. She's from Modern Family. That was an amazing show on Netflix. Yeah, Sophie Vergara. It's a real. If you're into the things like Narcos,
she's beautiful.
And she's deadly in this. I put it that way. If you like things like Sopranos, Breaking Bad, the Narcos series, this would be right up your street. So I'm going to be doing a review for that, and I'm going to be doing a review for a film that starred somebody I've really been getting to enjoy lately. I've been checking out a number of his films. Don Lee, who was in Train to Busan. He was in The Eternals as Gilgamesh. He's, a huge star right now. He's got loads of great stuff coming out. He produces a lot of his own stuff, but a film he did bring out on Netflix called Badland Hunters, I'm gonna be bringing that review pretty soon to the channel. But for everybody else watching, this is my good friend DJ Anubis. Please check out the Metal Tavern Radio. This has been the entertainment headquarters.
Subscribe, subscribe.
Thank you so much. And of course, this has been Into the Darkness.